What's going on, everyone out there in YouTube land? So today we're going to check out a sub-ohm tank, a fairly large sub-ohm tank. This one coming from Vaporesso, and this is the Cascade sub-ohm tank, sitting on top the Revenger mod, also from Vaporesso. Got this tank loaded up with some of the delicious Boston cream donut from Mr. Mike Vapes. If you guys love Boston cream donuts, you will love this liquid. Now this atomizer is capable of up to 200 watts. You can go as low as probably 40 watts, but we're going to test this thing out in high wattage mode. I got it at 120 watts, and then later on in the video, we're going to try it out at 200 watts. So you might want to stick around for that, because I'm curious to see what's going to happen. But 120 watts, let's have a quick vape. Nice, juicy flavor at 120 watts. Now, this was sent over directly by Vaporesso for the purpose of this review. If you guys are looking to pick one up after the video, I found it over at Heaven Gifts. They are asking around $34.95 for the tank. Coil heads, for the high wattage coil heads, you're looking at around $15 to $20 for a 3-pack. And what's also cool about this atomizer is you can use the NRG C-cell coils in here. So if you owned the previous sub-ohm tanks from Vaporesso, those coils will work in here, and those coils are actually a little bit more affordable. Alright guys, let's have an up-close look at the Cascade sub-ohm tank. This one coming from Vaporesso. Quick look at the presentation box. Comes in your typical hard shell box. Inside the box, you will get the Cascade sub-ohm tank. You'll get a coil head pre-installed. They will also include the drip tip. They're going to toss in an additional coil head and a coil adapter. So we'll talk more about the coil adapter in a moment. Now, along with the extra coils, they're also going to include an extra glass tank and a top fill grommet, but the package I received didn't have it inside the box. But I did verify on their website they will include an extra glass tank, and along with all that, you will get a user manual. Dimensions on the Cascade, on the Vaporesso website, they measure 24 millimeters, but I actually measured 25 millimeters at the base. And then the widest point will be the tank section at 28 millimeters. These are available in a rainbow finish that you can see here. They come in black stainless steel, and they come in a really nice blue. Here's the blue one I've been using. Love the way that blue one looks. Now at the top, they will include a standard resin wide bore 510 drip tip. You would think this would be an 810 drip tip, but actually no, it's an actual 510 drip tip. You can use your standard 510 drip tips, but you cannot use 810 drip tips. Real nice looking resin drip tip though. We also have the slide and fill feature on here. All you're going to do is just give the top cap a turn. It's going to slide open the fill port. There's your fill port located on the side right there. Now the Cascade does hold 7 mLs of liquid, so these tanks actually hold quite a bit of liquid. And keep in mind, they also include the extra glass tank. Now one cool feature about this tank is the coil head doesn't sit inside the juice like your typical sub-ohm tanks. Usually you could see the coil head kind of submerged in liquid, but these ones are set up a little bit differently, where the coil head has a separate chamber down here in the bottom, and the juice actually sits on the top and feeds down to the coil. So pretty interesting design. We do have adjustable airflow control. We got 3 air slots, 1, 2, and 3. Each of the air slots measure 11 millimeter by 2.5 millimeter. And of course, you can close off that airflow for a more restricted vape. We do have stopping points on the airflow control ring, so that way it's much easier to unscrew and remove the base. And then at the bottom, we do have this insulator. I'm not sure if it's made of Delrin, and that way the heat doesn't transfer from the tank down to your mod. This is not removable, to my knowledge. And then you can see Cascade tank designed by Vaporesso. And then, of course, we do have a non-adjustable 510 pin in the center. So breaking down the tank a little bit more, we'll give you guys a better look at the coil chamber design. Also the coils, we have that plug-in vape design. I like to call it plug-in vape, not plug and play, because the coil head just kind of plugs into the tank. It doesn't screw into the base. And you'll see the juice actually comes in through the juice ports at the top and then feeds your coil head, unlike the traditional sub-ohm tank where the coil head just kind of is submerged in liquid. If we unscrew this, you'll get a better look at it. There you go. You can see the juice comes in from those ports right there. And the machine work is actually really nice in all the parts and pieces. The glass tank section also is available in color options. So you could purchase like a red one, a green one, a blue one, which is pretty nice. But overall, they did a really, really good job at building this. Also, if you ever end up damaging the top fill grommet right there, like I said, they do include an extra one. And to change that out, all you're going to do is remove this top cap. It's actually reverse threaded. So go ahead and do it. It's not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. It's lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Is that right? I forgot. But just turn it in the opposite direction. Pop it off. And now you have access to that top fill grommet. You can actually take this. I probably should have slid it open before I did this, but come on. There we go. And now you can unscrew this completely. You can see how you can pull it out. Pull off that grommet. Replace it. Pop this back into place. Take that and then just reverse everything. You can screw it down nice and tight. And since it is reverse threaded, you don't have to worry about it loosening up when you're opening and closing the fill cap. So checking out the included coil heads, they're going to give you a high wattage 80 to 200 watt 0.15 ohm coil, which is the GTM8 coil. This is going to be for all the high wattage vapors out there, and this is a huge, huge coil. We're going to test out that 200 watts in a moment. Then they're going to include something a little bit more tame. This one is going to be a 0.4. This one's rated up to 80 watts. And you can see the coil head design is actually pretty interesting on this one. And then they will also include this adapter. Now, if you guys own any of the GT core coils or the C-cell ceramic coils from any previous Vaporesso tanks, you can actually use them inside the Cascade, which is really cool. Now, they don't include any of the C-cell or GT core coils, but I do have one right here. And all you're going to do is just unscrew the knurled section. And then we're going to drop the coil head down inside of here. I think I'm doing this correctly. It looks like it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to screw this down inside to the... I'm doing it the wrong way. There we go. Into the little adapter. Screw it down nice and tight. You don't necessarily have to worry about the juice ports lining up because it is pretty wide open. But just screw it down till it's tight. Right about there. And now we can use the C-cell and the older GT core coils in the Cascade. So one quick thing I want to cover before we vape this at 200 watts. Now, I haven't vaped it yet at 200 watts. I've been saving it for you guys, but I tested 3 coils out on this tank as I was using it, and the first coil was vaping the entire day. It was vaping beautifully. Then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I got this really nasty, dry, burnt hit, and it wasn't dried out cotton. It wasn't a dry hit. It was a hot spot in the coil somewhere. And I had it at 120, 130 watts, and it only happened twice. After the second time, it hasn't happened again. I tried 2 other coils, and it has not happened on those coils. So I think it might have been a bad coil. The coils they sent me were actually in a little baggie. They weren't in the retail package, so it might have just been a bad coil. But still, even though it hasn't happened ever since that, I have to report that it has happened just in case it happens again. Alright, so 200 watts. I'm afraid to do this because I don't vape at 200 watts on sub-ohm tanks, but we're going to try it. Airflow wide open. Wish me luck, guys. Here we go. Whoo, that is hot. Wow, I cannot take super deep inhales. I'm sorry, guys. Really short, quick pulls on this one, but so far, so good at 200 watts. It's not dry whatsoever. It's actually really flavorful, but just way too hot. Wow, that's hot. Alright, so it does work at 200 watts. For some reason, if you want to vape at 200 watts, you can do it with this tank. I probably wouldn't recommend doing it all day or chain vaping. Well, there's no possible way anyone can chain vape at 200 watts. But aside from that, it does do 200 watts. I'm pretty amazed by that. Alright, so the drip tip. 510 drip tip. Why did they go with 510? Because it's a high wattage tank. You would think they would go with 810 because it needs more airflow, but I'm a big fan of 510 drip tips. I don't have an issue with the 510 tip. I actually like the 510 tip on here, but some of you may be wondering why they didn't do 810. You can't use 810s on here. Kind of a bummer. I did notice that the Rainbow Heat Treated edition does come with the nice, colorful resin drip tip, but the blue, the black, and the stainless only come with the Delrin tip. So if you want that sexy looking resin tip, you got to go with the heat-treated rainbow. The Delrin tip, I notice, is really super loose, like extremely loose in there. It's not going to fall out, will it? No, it's not going to fall out, but it's really, really loose. So, yeah, just something to let you guys know of. Top fill, easy to fill up. Just spin the top cap, fill it up. You do get the replacement grommet in the retail package. I showed you guys how to replace it if you need to. This tank holds 7 mLs of liquid, which is a lot of liquid. But if you're vaping it at 130 watts, 150 watts, you're going to burn through that 7 mLs like crazy. This thing eats the liquid. I do like the way they have the coil design, how it's sitting down inside the chamber and the liquid's on top. It kind of reminds me of the Steam Crave Aromomizer. And this design actually works really well because I have not gotten a dry hit once yet. Like I said, I did get that the hotspot issue, but no dry hits. So yeah, it's working. It's working well, and it actually looks kind of cool like that where you don't see the coil. The airflow options, tremendous amounts of airflow. This thing has a lot of airflow. Usually I vape it at around 120, 130 watts, and I close the airflow off to about halfway, and that's perfect for me. Now, these coil heads are rated 80 to 200 watts. That does not mean you need to vape it at 200 watts. Usually start it off at 80 watts. If 80 watts works for you, if it tastes good, leave it at 80 watts because the lower the power, the longer the coil life. The higher you crank this thing up, the coil life is not going to last all that long. So if you're vaping this thing at 200 watts, that coil is probably going to last you maybe a day or 2 days. So I found 120 watts to be around perfect, but you may find something different. Another cool feature is the adapter they include. You can use the older NRG C-cell coils. You can use the ceramic coils. If you own the previous tanks, you can use those coils. And the coil heads for this one are a little expensive, $15 to $20 for 3 coil heads. And I noticed the NRG coils are a little bit more affordable. So another cool thing. The only downside is they don't include one of those NRG coils inside the kit. You have to actually get those to use that adapter, which is kind of a bummer. The flavor, amazing flavor off it. It can be a really hot vape too. If you crank this thing up and if you like a hot vape, this thing can get extremely hot, which means the tank gets really, really hot. But they have that insulator at the bottom that prevents the heat, the transfer from the atomizer to the mod. It does work actually. When I was vaping this at 130 watts, my mod didn't really heat up all that much, so it does work. Aside from all that, I think it's an awesome high wattage sub-ohm tank. If you're into the higher wattage stuff, I think you're going to really enjoy it. If you're a lower wattage vapor, I mean, you can still use it, but it's such a big tank, I don't see why you would wanna. But at the end of the day, if you like the hot, higher wattage stuff, you're going to really enjoy the Cascade, I think. Like I said, I just had that one issue in the very beginning. Aside from all that, I have really no major complaints on this one. It's been really enjoyable. So, Vaporesso, you did a good job. All right, so that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. If you have any comments or questions on this glorious high wattage tank called the Cascade, please feel free to leave them below. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to everyone very, very soon. Make sure you guys build safe and vape on.